Errata and Errata Magazine, Adventure 1. So going through the first 11 issues of the magazine brings us to the end of the first adventure. But pretty much every video almost I've been finding some mistakes, inconsistencies, some issues that seem to be there, or missing text or numbers are wrong. And I thought I'd just put it all in one place. And to start with, there was just a few things I kind of noticed, even though I didn't have much experience, and I spotted it. But then I started using the D&D Beyond, as they've advertised in every book, and I went in there to create some characters and look at one or two more things, and then I kind of just went down the rabbit hole of some errors that probably shouldn't be there, or even some errors that look like errors and they're not, and it's just kind of because I've got omissions in the text. So either way, I thought I'd just put it all in one place and just go through the whole of the first adventure and just check every single one. So starting with issue number 1. So possibly because it's a beginning issue and it's just a lot of introduction to Dungeons & Dragons, there wasn't much in the video to be issues or problems. And in fact, the only real thing here is that on the map for here, it's not put on the key, but there's a little hatch there that almost looks like it should be a door, but it's quite confusing. But if you notice, it matches up with the upper floor. And the common thinking seems to be that this is actually a fireplace, which would make sense because you've got a fireplace in the inn and the kitchen. And there's your chimney at the top. So that was not really a mistake, that's more of a clarification of that's what seems to be the consensus for what it is. The next bit is a mistake, and if you remember, I did do the comparison between the trial issue and the actual released issue, and there was a few actual issues in the magazine in the trial. However, the main thing here is just to look at more of an omission. So basically in the second round, round 2, Merovich is going to hit the attack and get a lucky roll, but he gets a 1 on the D20, which means he automatically misses. However, they're forgetting that Merovich is a life at halfling and he's lucky. So actually, he should have been allowed to re-roll, which is just something they missed off. I know it's only a combat example, but they can't just completely forget about one thing he can do. And in mentioning that, maybe we should look at the character sheets now, because this is where all the main numbers and rules seem to be from the first issue and where we're going to find the most inconsistencies. Beginning with Krantor, who has had the martial tag removed from his rapier, but also doesn't actually have one listed in his equipment pack. And then we go on to Razorgar, who's probably got the most things wrong. First, it was mentioned in the trial where actually the hit points total is wrong. It should be 11 and it's listed as 10 on the official character sheet. And again, the Warhammer's missing the martial tag it should have in the notes. I did put it down as a random mistake before. There's a D in the stealth. And actually looking over stuff, I realised it's because she has disadvantage on stealth checks because of the chainmail. So it's actually there as a reminder. Just like for Krantor, they had an E for expertise, they got the D for the disadvantage, as well as the P for proficient. And the other thing is she's missing the ceremony spell from her spellbook. And going over the list of level 1 cleric spells from D&D Beyond, that's actually the only spell listed that she hasn't got. Which again, as we said before, was included in the trial magazine and they've just removed it. They might have thought it was too complicated, but it does mean there is one cleric spell not on there for the sake of consistency and completeness. And then I better just go back to it, but there was something else I said that was an issue in the trial, and that was the fact that before they said 2 and they've gone up to 7 blocks of incense. But that's not actually an issue. The main issue is the magazine doesn't tell you that backgrounds also start with certain things. Someone else creating the character in D&D Beyond, just to check some things, because she's the acolyte, that automatically gives her the bonus 5 blocks of incense. Although they weren't blocks, it was called some other form of incense. But again, on there they listed 2 blocks in the money and equipment, and then it listed 5 blocks on the personal items, or the individual items, which was everything else that was originally missing. But the main reason I mention that is because when we get to Irina next, she's actually proficient in 5 different skills. 2 of the skills are because she's an outlander, and she gets to be proficient in another 2 because she's a fighter. She's got the 5th one there, perception, and she actually gets that because of the fact she's a wood elf. So that's something else the magazine's missed off. Not only have they not told us the equipment that the backgrounds start with in the background section, they've also not told us some of the traits that the species get. We've obviously got everything listed there that they have, but it's just missed off any other specifics, such as not telling us about that, or with the gnome that we'll see a bit later. And then last level 1 character, Merovich. The one mistake here, I'm not sure how they've done it, but there's 30 gold pieces starting. it should only be 10 gold pieces for a sage to start with. And then the one last part of the first issue that's wrong isn't actually in the issue, but it's in the advertised leaflet. And that's just that they say you get 4 free gifts, but there's 5 free gifts there. But yeah, moving on. So moving on to issue 2, and what we're going to have here, it's going to be in the spellcasting section. And in the preparing wizard spells, they've used Merovich as the example, because he's a wizard. But they've used intelligent modifier of +2, and the first level to give 3 spells is what he can prepare. Which, obviously, you can see intelligence is +4, so I feel like they've used the wisdom bonus by mistake. But then they've actually followed that through, so at the bottom in the rest and recharge section, again they've said Merovich can prepare 3 spells and has 3 spell slots, so he can cast all 3 of his spells. It should be he's got 5 spells and cast 3 of them. So they've actually done one inconsistency there and just followed it through. Issue 3, and our mistake here is just the room 3 secret stairs and room 4 the kitchen have been incorrectly labelled. So as you can see, secret stairs number 3, these two are the wrong way around. And it's going to be in a future video, but I did recently get a copy of the trial issue where the numbers were correct, so I'm not sure why they've swapped them around. Moving on to issue 4, and in our adventure, in the bandit stat block, they've listed him as a longbow, which is incorrect because the weapon he's got is a light crossbow because it's got all the same stats for that. And as we saw in 11, they've listed it correctly there. When we get to issue 5, this one isn't actually a mistake or an errata or an error. It's more just curious where for the Neverwinter Wood map, this is the map provided in the lore. And as you can see, the detail of the map is the same map as what we currently got in issue 2 in terms of stretching on the northern part of the Sword Coast, including Neverwinter and Phandalin. But none of the ruins or places of interest on here are places we've done adventures to. They're all new. I know some of them are listed at the top, but it'd be interesting to see if we get any adventures here, because if we do, that means they're missing off the map that came with issue 2, unless they give us a new map later on. Issue 6, and the actual issue itself was okay. Any things to mention have all been found in the character sheets. The notable one being that they've all still got martial missing from their martial weapons. Otherwise, Krantor's okay and Merovich is okay. Rezagar, now just to note, they've actually removed the D from the stealth, so it's not really a major thing. They've got disadvantage of stealth checks written on the chainmail, which might be why they've moved it, but it was nice to have the D in the skills box as a good reminder. And Irene is the only one left to cover. So obviously they removed the dot from her strength saving throws. She's got the correct bonus with the proficiency for the saving throw, she's just not got the mark there for it. Although the other thing to note is obviously again they've removed the martial tag from her weapons, but actually she's only proficient in martial and simple weapons, so technically that means she's not actually proficient in the short sword or proficient in the longbow. So in this example I do need to have martial written on the weapons because otherwise she's not proficient. So put it back. So when we go into issue 7, we're going to have some of the stuff about weapons, part 1 and part 2. And luckily, weapons part 1 has got a nice list of all the weapons contained. Weapons part 2 is going to have a block about the 2-weapon fighting. And one of the things it's going to say is, to do it, both the weapons must be held in one hand and must be light melee weapons. If you look, it's got hand crossbow listed, which last I checked was not a melee weapon. Okay, sure, you could improvise it and you could hit them as that, but it's just the fact it didn't say light weapon, it's a light melee weapon. And also, that list is the entire list of light weapons, except for they've missed off a club. And then we get to issue 8, which is going to have something that took me a while to get to the bottom of and I thought was going to be a reoccurring problem. But as I look back, but listed, if we say like the cones, look there at the top and you can see that it says a bard's colour spray spell. The main issue with this is colour spray isn't actually a bard spell. And I had to take quite a bit of research to work it out because even creating the character in D&D Beyond, I couldn't add to a bard. And it turns out there's one of the source books called Tasha's Guide to Everything. And in that, it has a section where it lists optional additional spells the bards can have. And under there, it does list colour spray. But I had to go through a lot of details to find it. And it's just a bit annoying because there's only one mention of that I can find. And that's, here we go, top tip. 2 of the characters use optional ability scores from Tasha's Guide to Everything. But that never came in an actual issue. Again, that was in trial issue number 1. So people who haven't read that might get confused as they try to make a bard and try to put colour spray on, because it's not technically doable without, I think you might have to actually purchase that source book or at least know about it and tick a box to say use your optional extra stuff. Issue 9 was the first to give us some new character sheets for a new class, and that was the Bard. And all of the errors are going to be to do with the 2 Bard character sheets. So just grabbing the level 1. To start, like the rest of the characters, the Rapier doesn't have the martial tag. Moving down to money and equipment, this is where quite a few of the problems are. Not necessarily a problem, but there should be some common clothes here and 2 sets of costume clothes. They've combined all 3 into 1 set of costume clothes. But the second column seems to be incorrect, because you'll notice there's 2 lots of leather armour listed, and going through what a folk hero forest gnome with his packs can start with, whichever pack had the disguise kit in. I think it might be an entertainer's pack. But also, they can't have that many rations. The bits they're missing that should be in the second category should be an iron pot and a shovel. A set of tools. I can only assume it's going to be carpenter's tools, as that is what the proficiency is. And then 5 lots of rations, which is a day's worth, and the water skin. Going off to check the spells. The minor illusion cantrip is an extra cantrip included because of the natural illusion ability. However, they've listed the range as 60 feet. The actual range for this should be 30 feet. And moving on to first level spells. Again, colour sprays there, which wasn't technically a bard spell, apart from the guide to everything added it. And just the fact that, again, I've mentioned before, you've got options to prepare all your spells, but bards don't prepare spells, so you shouldn't have those. Moving on to the level 2 character sheet. It's going to have a lot of the same issues that the level 1 had, although they've also lowered the passive wisdom perception. It should be 13 like it was. Other than that, all the other stuff like the missing the martial tag and everything's still the same. Although when we go to the back, they've actually removed the natural illusionist spell. Technically, they haven't got minor illusion range incorrect anymore, but that's just because it's not there. And they also have added a saving throw to healing ward. It shouldn't have a saving throw, it doesn't have it listed anywhere, so I've no idea why they've added it. Especially because it's got no effect on undead, so there's no reason to have it there. You're not trying to target the undead, unless there's some sort of situation where someone might want to refuse it, but I wouldn't know why. Issue 10? I've got nothing to say about issue 10 really, I didn't spot anything, so good job. We'll just go straight to issue 11. And this one's going to be to do with the zombie cats. You might have seen recently, and eventually worked out at the last minute, the zombie cats, their stats looked a bit wrong for everything else, and it's actually because they've just copied the stats directly off the bandit. So I've been looking at the stats of zombie cat, and I've also looked at the stats of the regular zombie to compare. I made some deductions for some, and others I made the best guess. So for strength, there needs to be a -1 modifier. You can see from only +1 to hit with the claws, even though there's a +2 proficiency, and the 1d6 -1 damage. So I'm just going to put that as strength 8. Dexterity should be a +2 bonus because of the 12 armor class the zombie cat gets. So I'll put that as dex 15. Constitution I wasn't certain on, but the cats have got a very similar hit dice to an actual zombie, just a smaller dice. They've got the same number and the same bonus. So I'm going to give them the same constitution as a zombie of 16. With the cats, they're zombies. Zombies don't even have any intelligence normally anyway. Plus these are zombies of wild animals. They don't speak any languages, so I've just given them the minimum intelligence 1. Now the wisdom saving throw, researching it, it looks like undead are proficient in wisdom saving throws, which is why they will have a +2 to it. So the saving throw wisdom +0 with the proficiency, it means the cat should have a -2 modifier. So I'm saying the cat's got wisdom 6. Finally we get to charisma, and I've not got much idea for this, so I just put it like fairly similar to a regular zombie, so I've just put it down at charisma 3. So yeah, there you have it. There's everything in the magazines that I've highlighted you might need to take note of that's definitely wrong or that looks wrong, and some of it I'll probably find out is or isn't wrong as I get to further issues. Or such as with issue 4, I might find future issues that make me backtrack and go, oh actually that's wrong, actually I didn't pick that up before. Which is fair enough for me because I don't actually know 5th edition, everything I'm learning is from these. But anyway, that's enough of that for now, so I'm just going to move on. Like quite soon I'm going to have a look at the trial issue 3, which I'm very thankful to have got a copy of, so I can do a deep dive of that compared to normal issue 3. So I might get some more issue 3 errors from there. Of course this involves grappling, so first I need to get through issue 12 just to have a look at actual grappling. But as per normal, there'll be links up around, so if you just click those to follow about the video, the series, whatever it links to. But thanks for watching, hope to catch you soon.